start off, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Virginia. Grew up in Virginia, went to Virginia Tech, got a forestry degree, and came to Ohio to go to work for the Mead paper at the time.
Was it Mead that brought you to the area?
Yeah. Had never been, I don't know, west of the Blue Ridge Mountains, so I didn't know where Ohio was. But yeah. Yeah. And then when I flew into Columbus, I wondered where the trees were, because they were all flat farm fields and whatnot around. So anyway, found out that there was timber and land with trees growing on it in southern Ohio. So it was pretty interesting. But anyway, worked there, moved around a few different places, West Virginia, working for the paper company still, and then to Alabama and back into Ohio. So that was quite a few years doing all of that. But anyways, my wife was from Virginia too, so started having our kids and got back to Ohio, decided it's probably a good time to stay where we're at and get settled a little bit. So kind of worked out. Fast forward about 4 or 5 years ago, decided I thought I'd want to do something different. So trying to figure out what that was probably the big question. And like I said earlier to you, Kyle, I was reading a book called Purpose Driven Life, and kind of just talks about a lot of things people want to consider when you're looking at life. And basically, I knew whatever I did, I was going to be good at it. I needed to be good at it. I needed to be passionate and enthusiastic. And my career path was working with loggers much of the time. Enjoyed that. So decided I'd start my own business, Jenkins Forestry Services, or Jenkins Forestry. What is that? Jenkins Forestry Consulting. Yeah. And so anyway, started doing that 4 years ago, do chainsaw training with loggers, do continuing education with loggers, and I also work for a consult for an organization called the Forest Resources Association. That's a national organization, represents the entire wood supply chain, and so I manage the Appalachian region.
Which is a pretty big region, I imagine, right?
Yeah, it's from eastern Tennessee to western Maryland. Wow. And everything in between, anything that's got the mountains and the hardwood forest. That's pretty much the Appalachian region.
Yeah, a lot of hardwoods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, primarily all hardwoods, hardwood sawmills, paper mills, anything that manufacturing-wise with hardwood. We have a member, I'm sure, representing that category.
And then you still have a part in, I'd say, an allied role with the Ohio Forestry Association, correct?
Yes. I just finished, with what I'm doing with chainsaw training and logger continuing education, I subcontracted with the Ohio Forestry Association to do that work for the 10 logger chapters that are in Ohio. And so I enjoy that, and just finished my serving as the president of the Ohio Forestry Association last year. So a lot of good things going on with the OFA, and a lot of projects and great progress, and a lot of good things for the industry.
And that's the thing, probably what I enjoy about the Ohio Forestry Association the most is seeing the things that they do for the industry that I don't think the average citizen sees.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yeah. And the Forestry Association, represents forestry in Ohio, and frankly, a lot of folks in other states and even in our state don't recognize that we have much of a forest industry in Ohio. So, speaking to that and promoting forest products and the industry itself is important, and so the Ohio Forestry Association is kind of the voice of forestry in Ohio, and their members are the ones that speak loudly too.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Hey guys, let's talk about one of our sponsors. We couldn't do it without them, and that sponsor is Lazy Creek Meats. We all know Lazy Creek Meats. It's owned and operated by the Fannin family, and they've been raising cattle in South Central Ohio since 1950. They are now on their fourth generation of farmers since 1950. They continue to preserve their mission, and that is to produce high-quality beef the way nature intended, without all that subtherapeutic antibiotics and without all the growth hormones. They pride themselves in being stewards of the land and giving every effort in maintaining a sustainable farm operation. They don't use herbicides or pesticides on any of their grasslands, and they utilize rotational grazing along with other best forage management practices. And that helps them optimize their hay and forage production as feedstock for their animals. All of their cattle are fed a diet of free choice grass or forage with all natural supplements of corn, soybean, vitamins, and minerals to produce quality product while maintaining the superior health of the animal. From conception to consumption, their vision is to feed the family and the customers quality beef for generations to come. Guys, look them up on their Facebook. They're all over social media. They take very well care of their farm and their animals. If you go out by their place, you'll see it's neat as a pin. And that's important stuff whenever you're consuming beef or whenever you're looking to consume beef. You want to see what kind of food that beef is eating. And I promise you, you cannot do any better than what the Fannins are doing out there with Lazy Creek Meats. So get on their Facebook page. You can order right there from it. I believe you can on Instagram too. But just shoot them a message if you've got questions. They're constantly sharing recipes and ways to cook and different things. And for all you chubbies out there that are listening, if you saw that cow tongue that we fixed here a few weeks ago, that came from Lazy Creek Meats, and I'm telling you, it was delicious. So give those guys a call or look them up on their Facebook page at lazycreekmeats.com.
Yeah.
So we were talking whenever I called you the last week about coming on the show. Mm-hmm. You said you were in Pennsylvania doing a training.
Yeah.
Can you speak a little bit about what the training is that you do? And
so with my role with the Forest Resources Association, I travel within the Appalachian region and meet with members and speak to different of member companies and whatnot throughout the year. So last week in particular, I was up in northwestern Pennsylvania. I was asked to speak at the Kane Area Logger Safety Meeting. And so that is a meeting they have every year. It's been going on 55 years. And really to get their loggers together to first they're SFI trained, which is sustainable forestry, and they get all their training that particular day, which is multiple different areas, but at the end of that day, they have a guest speaker comes, and that was what they had asked me to do, come talk about what my experience was with FRA and logger safety and the training that we're involved with, and even with my own business and what I was doing, just to kind of share that with that group. And there were 118 loggers at that meeting, and I had the last thing on the program, and I was very conscious of time and watching to make sure nobody got rotten tomatoes too quickly.
Keeping everyone engaged.
Closed it off. Shut it down at the right time, but it went well. Yeah, had a good lot of engagement. A lot of folks were asking questions, and I felt like it was definitely worth the time, and I believe a lot of folks felt the same way.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Mm-hmm. From your perspective, what do you think one of the biggest challenges is in the forestry industry?
Yeah, so I think telling our story first. You talk about what's going on with carbon and how people view trees, and growing trees captures carbon, and there's a lot of that's correct. But a managed forest is a better thing than just letting trees grow without harvesting, because trees have a lifespan also, and as they get older and start to die, and then regards to carbon, that starts to release carbon back into the atmosphere.
Really?
Atmosphere, yeah. So by making products and managing your forest, harvesting trees, you kind of capture carbon in the furniture that is made. All of that, the carbon's captured, and until that furniture is not used anymore. So it's really better for the forest, better for that objective. So yeah. Yeah, so I think that's kind of some of the things that I think of with with what's the most important thing with with what we need to do.
A lot of times I get almost blinders, and it seems like in our area there's not many young foresters coming up in the industry.
Right.
Is that something you're seeing all across your region that you're representing, or is it?
Yeah, workforce. We're focused on how do you enhance the workforce and get more people interested to go into the jobs that we have in our industry. And there's a lot of things we can do better, and that's what we've been talking about. But even just getting into the schools early and sharing what opportunities are in forestry are a great place to start, and where a lot of folks are really looking at that. For example, in West Virginia, they're bringing a simulator around to some different high schools where actually students can see what it's like to run a harvesting machine or a bulldozer, and that's what the opportunities could be in our industry, for example, with a logging contractor or logging environment. So they get a chance to experience that, where then they can really see if that's what they think they want to do, and if it's something they really enjoy, then that gives them an incentive to find out more about that.
Hey, Rural Roots listeners, let's pay the bills by talking about some of our sponsors. And one of those sponsors is going to be R&C Packing. R&C Packing is proudly owned by Jamie and Amy Graham, and they've been in business since 1997. That's almost 30 years down there, and that's harvesting cattle and hogs. So if you guys need some good prime or some good choice beef, that is the place to go. And the reason I say prime and choice beef is because they are one of the only facilities in the area that offer USDA grading for beef carcasses. Hey, that's pretty important. Everybody goes to the grocery store. You look at your steaks. You look at your cuts. You want to make sure that they're good. Well, these guys down there at R&C Packing, they are certified to do that. They offer complete harvesting, and they also offer retail cuts. So, hey, if you've got your own beef and you want to take it down there and get it butchered, give those guys a call, and that's going to be 740-245-9440, or you can look them up at rcpacking.com. It's real easy, rcpacking.com or 740-245-9440. Let them take care of you. R&C Packing, located in Southern Ohio. You'll be glad you did. They've got some of the best seasonings you'll ever taste. They've got some of the best meat cutters that you've ever seen in your life. You will be completely happy with your butchered beef. I promise you, you'll be glad you did. Thank you, R&C Packing, for sponsoring Rural Roots Podcast.
So I would imagine the commonly term that we use is mechanization in forestry, right?
Yeah.
So I would imagine that helps on both the safety side and the almost recruitment side, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's easier to get a kid into a forwarder or a harvester than it is to run a saw.
Or even just the skidders, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that machine is high technology. It's something that uses joysticks. They're used to growing up with that, so that's where it's at. Reading, they understand how to get the read out and understand what this screen is showing them and that type of thing. So really, it's kind of evolving. The equipment and technology is evolving with the as kids are even growing up and learning about that. Cell phone technology, all the things that a 3-year-old might be already thinking, looking, and exposed to, and by the time they get to be a senior in high school, they've seen a lot and can handle a lot of things.
And I think it's a good opportunity for kids.
Yeah.
The blue collar work, just an opportunity to get out and
right.
Those are a lot of those are good paying jobs.
They are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are, and we just don't tell our story enough, and we don't speak loud enough, and we don't get get out to share that. So you're right. The jobs are good. A lot of times, working outdoors, if that's what somebody enjoys, forestry is the place to be, whether you're a logger or a sawmiller or somebody, a forester just working for one of those companies that needs the resource. So yeah. I mean, they are good jobs, and we're working to get that word out to folks.
And it's sustainable, so it's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah. And what you do out in the woods and what you have a hand in really does enhance aesthetics, wildlife. It helps to meet a need for the community. All of that fits with folks being happy with what they do too.
So going back to the woodland management side of things, how would I, so I've got I call it the mountainside. I can't farm it.
Yeah.
I can't do anything with it other than let trees grow on it.
Right.
How would I go about
Right.
managing that?
Mm-hmm. So it's like anything. If I'm not the expert in it, I try to find out who is, right? So in this case, with really getting somebody to take a look at your property and give you some recommendations and some education in terms of what you can do and what your forest looks like, because that's not all the same with everybody as far as what species of trees you have, when it was cut last, all those are factors in determining really what your next step is. So, contacting the Division of Forestry, service foresters are assigned to counties in Ohio, so they can help out. Reaching out to even local sawmills or the paper mill that has professional foresters employed. They'll be glad to come take a look at the property and give you an evaluation and what they think about what needs to be done. It may not be anything, because at some point with the timber's so young, there's all it needs to do is grow and do its thing, and you can enjoy the aesthetics and the wildlife and whatever else goes with that. So,
because I think a common misconception is if we harvest our timber, we're clear cutting our timber, and that's not always the case, right?
Right. That's not always the right prescription, and that's not always what's meeting the landowner's objectives. Right. Some landowners, that is the objective. They're not going to have the property much longer, or they don't really enjoy the property, so they're just looking at paying for college for the kids that are starting school or whatever it is. But that's part of what you'll get by having somebody come and look at it. You tell them what you're looking for, and then they respond in terms of what they think could be done to meet that objective or goal.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Yep.
From a safety side of things, do you have any unsolicited advice for homeowners or farmers? Because I'll admit, I've got an arsenal of chainsaws, and I know enough about them to start them and cut a tree. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. And I think it seems like with regard to chainsaws, and guys or girls, but guys I know, and it's like that's just one. That's something that you can relate to. And so we just figure all we got to do is get that. It's loud, it's tough. We can get some serious work done. And that's all we really think about. But in reality, we need to be thinking about the safety aspect. Some training with that would be great, because there's things I do in my role with my job, as far as showing technique that's safer, so you don't get a kickback on the saw by using the wrong part of the bar when you're cutting a tree or cutting something up, so it won't kick back towards you. So that's all important, having the right safety equipment, right? And chainsaw chaps or pants, something that has chainsaw protection built in is the first priority you want to be thinking about. Give you a peace of mind, allow you to move with the saw without really having to be so focused on making sure it stays off of your leg, even though you always have to respect the saw regardless of what you're wearing. Hard hats, right? Without a hard hat thing, I think maybe statistically, or what I've heard from OSHA, over 50% of the accidents fatalities come from falling objects. So, so from that standpoint, having a hard hat on, making sure that it's still good, because hard hats have expiration dates, and you got to look underneath the brim of the hard hat. It shows when it was manufactured, actually, and the generally what they say is a couple years, 2-3 years. You should be replacing that hard hat. It all depends on the ultraviolet light that it's exposed to the plastic, and that kind of causes deterioration.
It will fatigue.
Yeah, so if you're going to wear that, that's what I share with folks. You're going to wear that all the time, if you know you need to do that, you need to make sure that it's going to do its job if and when something might happen to hit you in the head. So, anyway, that ear protection, that's a little more subtle, to where you just don't know how much ear protection or you need, or how much hearing you could be losing over time. It doesn't show up for many years into the future, but as I know, if you know someone who's run a saw for a long time, they probably have compromised hearing, and when you're watching TV with them, they can't hear, or the TV's up, so you hear too much, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those are some basics, things as far as safety, protection, and training for using a chainsaw.
I'm a huge advocate of chaps. Many, many years ago, to give a plug, Ronnie Adkins, I would cut trees and stuff around the farm, and Ronnie happened to swing through, seeing me, and it was at the time Ronnie had his store.
Oh, yeah.
And he swung through, and he said, "Son, what are you doing?" I said, just trimming some fence lines and stuff. And he come back about an hour later and went down to his store and brought me a pair of chaps, and I'm
Seriously?
like, I don't need these. And
Yeah.
a couple days later, sure enough, it fell into my knee.
Is that right?
The chain fell into my knee, and I've got those chaps hanging up in the garage. Just
Do you
for
really?
Yeah.
So you did wear the chaps.
I
that
did
he
wear the
brought to
chaps. I
you.
did listen, and I keep a pair of chaps all the time now.
Yeah.
I wear them, and it's that.
Yeah.
It's the little things you don't think of.
No.
Until it's too late.
No, right. After the fact, it's too late. So, and I think that's, we're all kind of like that. And I know when I do training, and I've talked and trained a lot of folks, not just loggers, but folks whose job responsibility takes using a saw, like with the state parks or folks like that, and just even landowners, because I've done a lot of landowners that own property. And I know one gentleman was sharing with me early in the spring that I had, he had done training, and I'd shown him all this information. And his son came to him some months later asking to borrow the chainsaw, and he said he refused to give his son his chainsaw unless his son had chaps to wear, or was going to wear chaps. So the son, I think, reluctantly agreed to wear his dad's chaps if he used his chainsaw. So he was pretty adamant that came from the training and talking and listening and seeing what went on, because the stories after the fact are, some people are intrigued by them, but they're never pretty stories. They're never good stories.
No.
So it can change your life, and just a little bit of precaution or thinking ahead can make all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Hey, Chubbies, welcome to Season 1 of the Rural Roots Podcast with your host, Creek Chubb, a.k.a. Kyle Fannin. You guys are going to love this season, mainly focused around agriculture and just anything land, okay? But we couldn't do this without our sponsors. And the first one that we're going to talk about is Bickle Insurance Services. Those guys handle everything from pollution liability to crop insurance to home and auto insurance to your farm needs, anything. The main thing is that they focus on at Bickle Insurance is coming up with a plan for you. So make sure you give those guys a call, and Kyle, aka Creek Chubb, he's going to tell you how to call them right now.
Guys, give Aaron or any of his team members a call at 740-593-7311 or at bickleinsurance.com.
You'll be glad you did.
Going back to the Forestry Association, just again to give them a little bit of a plug, I think they're a great resource, at least for Ohio residents, right?
Oh, yeah.
On the forestry management side.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the Ohio Forestry Association, you can look that up on the internet, ohioforest.org, And we have a executive director, Jenna Reese. She's just came on board a couple of years ago.
Jenna does a great job.
Yeah, excellent. Just the right person. She had her background with Farm Bureau, and it's always good to have the Farm Bureau folks know more about the Ohio Forestry Association and vice versa. And Jenna brings a lot more than that, but definitely that was a great thing. And so the Ohio Forestry Association have logger members. We have pretty much the entire supply chain also represented. So from that end of it, our membership is so diverse. We listen to what our members are saying they want, and we get people together, provide partnerships with the members so that they learn more. I know tree farmers working with loggers, finding out what loggers do, how safety is important, how, the master logger program in Ohio, that's important. The training the loggers go through to get that status is key, and we really promote master loggers working with the landowners to harvest timber and to get that job done. So,
And I think the website has an entire list of those master loggers, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, by county.
By county,
So,
okay.
So if you're in Scioto County and you really are looking for a logger that would be close by, you can go to that website and pull up the master logger list, and you'll be able to see what county has which master loggers.
One of the funnest things that I enjoy is the logger of the year.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a lot of fun with it. Just,
Yeah.
of course, down here in the Southeastern Ohio chapter,
Yeah.
we have a great group of
You
guys.
do.
And
A huge group of guys. So
Huge.
there's well over 30 people in that meeting room every time I've been there.
Yeah.
And I think they look forward to getting together. It's every other month, I believe, or so, a meeting every other month. And I just think, without regard to the content, because I think the content's good, in their minds, but I think they also look for getting together and catching up on what's been going on and visiting a little bit with folks they don't see regularly.
right, it's a wonderful group of guys. I've been out of the industry for 10 years now.
Oh, yeah?
But it's something that I've stayed engaged with just because I believe in what they're doing.
Yeah.
I believe that every one of them have their best interest in mind. They want to do the right thing
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
every time.
So,
So-
yeah.
I want to advocate for those guys.
Yeah, right. And then being together can help that to happen, help problem solve, help be advocates or proponents of whatever causes make sense. I know support, like sending one or two or maybe more than that kids to forestry camp Canopy through the Ohio Forestry Association. So the Southeast Ohio Loggers chapter has sponsored kids to go there, and that teaches them more about just what we're talking about, right? So, and also mentioning Logger of the Year. Last year it was John Jefferson, and this past year. Yeah.
I was going to bring up both of them. Yeah.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Well, with John, it's kind of odd for me to say this, but John is I'm really proud of John and what John's done.
Yeah.
I met John probably 8 or 10 years ago.
Okay.
It was a random phone call. Hey, my name's John Jefferson. I'm in Gallia County, and I want to join the loggers chapter. And
Really?
I'm like, okay, and to really watch his story. John's someone I really want to get on here.
Yes.
John was a machinist by trade,
Right.
and was logging because he owned a farm.
It was secondary. His logging piece.
Exactly.
Of it. Yeah.
He went into logging, and I would invite anyone to look into his Facebook page. John does a great job.
Right.
He promotes his guys that help him. I think all the landowners are extremely pleasant with his work. So to see him come from, hey, I think I'm going to do this logging thing to the Logger of the Year,
Right. Yeah.
was awesome.
I'm sure, and I haven't known him nearly that long. I just met him a couple years ago, to be honest. And Forrester took me down to meet John and kind of find out what he was about, because that's what the Forestry friend of mine was saying, he's like, this is an awesome logger. He's really somebody you need to talk to and get to meet. And he was right.
John is 110% in.
Yeah.
110.
Yeah.
I mean, he's full go on all aspects.
And he doesn't, and he wants to learn. You know,
Yes.
he's the first one to admit, I don't know it all. And I know a lot of guys around me that have way more experience, and I want to find out what they know and do it the best way I can.
Yep.
And now that's kind of evolving to where he's starting to be the guy that has a lot of experience for other guys.
He's the go-to now.
Yeah.
You know, and he's done it in such a short time.
No, right.
And it's genuine, you know.
Yeah.
And then the flip side of that is Tyke Lowry.
Yeah.
Tyke and Ron. I mean,
Yeah.
known those guys for years.
Yeah.
Great guys.
Yeah.
Absolutely great guys.
The loggers of the year this year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Recognized.
So you take that there, you know, Tyke would be, I guess, a second generation logger. You know, his dad, Ron,
right.
started logging years ago, you know, and talked to Tyke last night. He's going to come on the show with us.
Excellent.
Not to ruin his story, but man, the perseverance that family has to maintain the forestry. You know, he's extremely cognizant of what he's doing, how he does it.
Right.
And then Oakley, went and got his, I don't want to say, he went to school. I don't want to say what forestry management, but his goal was to come back and continue the business. So it's great to see that next generation come on and show interest.
Right. And that's what we need to be working on to try to support that and to see that happen, because the next generation needs to backfill for the current generation, or else you don't have that. Right.
Because we're always going to need wood products.
Yeah.
In some form
nothing
or fashion.
happens until a logger is able to harvest or work that site and cut the tree down and take it to the market or the mill.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, nothing can happen until that happens in any part of this industry. So, so it's important that we kind of support that. And like you said, with Tyke and Oakley, that's a great example of just being able to have your next generation coming back and wanting to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
And to plug the sawmills, I think the sawmills are a great resource.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, the majority of our sawmills in this area, and I don't even want to say this area, in the state even, or multi-generational mills.
Right.
That do a good job of promoting sustainable forestry. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, I mean, the sawmills, they're the key. They're employing folks in a rural area. They have jobs that are well-paying jobs, good-paying jobs, and without a market to take the trees to, you really aren't able to manage a forest. Meaning, you know, with harvesting, you have to have somewhere to go that can pay for the work that's been done to enhance what we're doing with the woods. So there's a lot of sawmills in southern and northeast Ohio. People don't realize that, especially from other states. Ohio kind of is associated with corn and soybean in my mind.
Yeah.
And the Ohio State University.
Yes, of course, the Ohio State University. Yes.
But
yes. The last thing I wanted to touch on was to get your opinion. I know in the Hocking Hills region, there's a lot of tourism boom. Do you see that impacting either way, the forestry market, the forestry industry in that area?
So I think it can all be work together, right? I think education's a big part of it to begin with. A lot of times folks that are coming to Hocking Hills or Hocking Forest, they're coming from more metropolitan areas, or our bigger cities that are around. Just they're looking to get away and experience nature and that type of thing. Is kind of like the way I perceive it, but they don't understand that forests have lifespans. Managed forests are much more productive for wildlife, and they're good for aesthetics, everything. There's a lot of positives there. So we really need to get that story out, our story out. And sometimes it's just by telling our story, one person at a time. each of us in the industry have something to say, and not shy away from things that might be confrontational, but really just kind of welcome that and discuss it.
Don't be afraid to have the conversation.
No, right, because what we're doing, there's nothing in terms of forest management and harvesting. There's nothing wrong with that. Doing it right is important, and preventing soil erosion, putting your roads in properly, all of that is important. But it can be done, and everybody can get what they want out of the out of what's being managed. So, whether it's aesthetics, wildlife, timber production, any of that, everybody can get a piece of that. And like I say, I think it's just talking about it and sharing what we know, and helping people to understand really what's going on and what's good about it.
Yeah, excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to touch on? Anything?
I think I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in forestry for over 30 years, and always learning something new. But I think now is a exciting time. It's a tough time too, but I think really if we share our story with the folks that are out there, that'll help everyone in terms of moving forward and being able to accomplish common goals. Because I think John Jefferson, the former logger of the year, was saying, what's the greatest thing about this resources? It is sustainable. It comes back. It will grow back, and it grows back all the time. And that's what he loves about it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that isn't always appreciated or understood, but I do believe he's right about that. It is sustainable, and it's there for all of us and our families to enjoy.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate you making the trip. Appreciate you coming up.
Okay.
Really do.
It was great. I appreciate you inviting me on here. And
absolutely.
Look forward to listening to all your future podcasts.
They're coming slowly, but they're coming.
Okay.
Thanks,
all right.
Man.
Thanks, Kyle.